Washington Commanders are leaving no stone unturned in its search for a new head coach, a new leader, a new head of the franchise here in Washington. And they are doing their due diligence. They're going through a thorough process of vetting out the right and perfect candidate to be our next head coach to replace Ron Rivera and company. A lot of fan favorites are going to be happy about this news, but don't get too excited. They interviewed Eric Bieniemy for the Commanders head coach job, and they did it in a way that was kind of kept a secret. Well, you know how we released and kind of leaked everybody that we requested an interview to? We didn't tell the world we were interviewing EB. It took Josina Anderson in the middle of a random Sunday afternoon to say, Washington interviewed Eric Bieniemy. But we already know Josina Anderson has an agenda to push when it comes to EB, just like she did with Lamar. They interviewed him for the head coaching job. What this shows is professionalism. It shows Adam Peters and Josh Harris and company. They understand he was the assistant head coach. They understand he comes from an Andy Reid background. So no stone unturned. Give us your pitch, Eric, on your way out the door. Because let's be frank, Eric Bieniemy's not getting this job. He's not getting this job. That's why it was like in secret that they interviewed him. He's not getting this job. It was a formality and another check on the Rooney Rule box. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be an asshole, but Eric Bieniemy is going to be 0 for 17 on head coaching interviews because he's not getting this job. Eric Bieniemy collects head coaching interviews like Thanos collected Infinity Stones for the Gauntlet. He's going to have another stone to drop on said gauntlet after Washington's head coaching search begins because he's not getting this job. I can't imagine how that interview goes. So, Eric, tell us about how you decided to develop Sam Howell this year. 50 dropbacks a game behind a shaky at best offensive line. Tell me more about your route designs, Eric. Tell me what the plan was here because we averaged like 10 points a game the last 7 weeks of the season. It was bad. The offense was some shit. It looked worse than it was with Scott Turner. Imagine going through a head coaching process and speaking with guys like Bobby Slowick, who we interviewed today as well, Ben Johnson, and then talking to Junior Mint, Whopper, Milk Dud, head ass Eric Bieniemy. Imagine how different those interviews go. Imagine how different the vision is. EB does shine in a podium press conference arena. He shines there. But clearly something doesn't click when he gets to the interview phase of the head coaching process. And something clearly doesn't click when he gets the play calling sheet and is actually calling the plays because our offense was a fucking nightmare this year. And I don't understand how that would be in serious contention for the job. I do appreciate that they gave it to him. It was very professional, very admirable on their side. On your way out the door, stop by the office, Eric. Talk to us about the head coaching vacancy. If you were given said vacancy, how would you build this team? How would you develop this quarterback? Have you looked at the quarterbacks in the 2024 draft? What would be your plan for them? Because dropping them back 50 times a game is asinine. It's a fail. It's a pass-proof plan. Like there's nothing you're going to succeed when you think developing a 23-year-old quarterback looks like that. No, sir. Not it. And it begs the question, should EB have just stayed in Kansas City? Because he had a good thing going. He had a great thing going. He chose to bet on himself and failed miserably. We were a dumpster fire organization on both sides of the ball. And his offense was just as nasty as the defense. It stank. The players don't like him. The players don't believe in him. And if you watch the tape, the offense doesn't make sense. You can't scheme up the run to save his life. Receivers are still running into each other. The depth of routes look disgusting every week. There were even plays where we scored that the receiver was almost running into the receiver next to him. Like, it just didn't make sense. It didn't add up. The math was never mathing for Eric Bieniemy's offense here in D.C. I wish him well, though. I wish him well. He hasn't got a request to interview for any other head coaching vacancies, so that should tell you just how popular his name is, or opposite of that, league-wide. Ain't nobody interviewing this nigga for their job. He got the interview here in Washington. He's the associate assistant head coach. So it's a formality. We're gonna give you and we're gonna let you know that if we fuck around and hire Raheem Morris or one of these defensive guys, we may be interested in you staying on as the OC. I'm not. Maybe they are. I don't think Adam Peters' vision of our franchise involves Eric Bieniemy because that ain't it. What we went through this year on offense, that ain't it. I don't want Eric Bieniemy within 100 feet of whatever quarterback we take with the second pick. I want a restraining order from our quarterback's room to Eric Bieniemy. I want him nowhere near the development of my new prized possession of my organization. The Houston Texans were put off. They were put out the playoffs. They got that ass beat by the Baltimore Ravens yesterday. But Bobby Slowick, we interviewed him today. We're going through the whole gauntlet of interview. We interviewed Raheem Morris and Dan Quinn on Thursday. We interviewed Ben Johnson yesterday. We interviewed Mike McDonald and Anthony Weaver last week. And this week is a big week because we can start bringing in these head coaching candidates in person for final interviews. I like this process over. I think we're on a collision course with Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. I would like to get that done already. But I don't think Eric Bieniemy is a real consideration for this job. I think this interview is a formality, but the interview did take place, and it was detailed and thorough, according to Josina Anderson. But Josina just be fucking yapping, bro, especially for people that she champions. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. We interviewed Eric Bieniemy for the job. Tell me what y'all think the percentage of him actually getting this job. I'll put it like 2%. 2% Eric Bieniemy is the head coach of the team. And I'm not going to hold you. If that was the hire Adam Peters fell on and said he's the guy, I would be doubting Adam Peters already. Like, I'm going to give him full confidence to design this shit in his vision. And I want to give him the due diligence to do whatever he feels. But I told you there were two things I have no interest in DC. That's Eric Bieniemy as the head coach. That's Bill Belichick as the head coach. Not interested in either thing. I would be very disappointed in those. But let's see how the process plays out. Starting tomorrow, January 22nd, we can start conducting in-person interviews. I'm not sure how the timeline works, considering the Lions may be still in the playoffs and headed up to San Francisco for the NFC Championship next week. So we'll see how it plays out. But we interviewed our offensive coordinator / assistant head coach, Eric Bieniemy, for the head coaching job silently over the week last week. I like how this team is moving. I like how they're doing business. I like the 3D chess that Josh Harris is playing. I like that he formed a council. They're assembled like the Avengers to get this hiring process underway. And I like that we are releasing only what we want to release to the public. And this team is moving totally different into the future. Until next time, hail to the Washington Commanders. Rio, out.